Hey everybody, welcome back to Up the Vibe. And today I have the pleasure of speaking to Elena Danaan, who is an author, shaman, archaeologist, and emissary for the Galactic Federation of Worlds. Hi Elena, how are you today?
Hi, I'm very good. Thank you very much for having me. It's going to be good fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and thank you for your time. It's amazing to finally speak to you, having followed you for a couple of years now. And I just wanted to start, if you could, on introducing yourself and maybe talk a bit about the Galactic Federation of Worlds.
Yes, okay. Yes, so I'm archaeologist. That's my real job. I'm also a druidess, shaman, and other stuff, artist, etc. I'm a contactee since the age of 9. And I've been abducted by grey aliens, the Nebu from Orion, and rescued in a process by personnel from the Galactic Federation of Worlds. I kept contact with them, only with specific individuals, and I'm still in contact to this day. I wrote a book about that in 2020, A Gift from the Stars. I wrote another one a little bit later, and We Will Never Let You Down, and I'm still writing. So this is me. And well, the Galactic Federation of Worlds decided to make an emissary of me because I was passing on messages, and it was working well. And now I am officially doing that. So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
And you said you're an archaeologist. I think you've been been in Egypt, right? So
yes,
how has that influenced you?
Well, Egypt, I want to be an archaeologist since I was a child, and especially drawn to the mysteries of the past. That was what was drawing me to do archaeology. When I worked, I had a degree in Egyptology, archaeology, then specialized in Egyptology. I was hired for 8 years permanently in Egypt, in Karnak, but also I worked on many different sites. Giza, the Valley of the King, Dendera for the most important ones. How it did this influence me? Well, it confirmed to me that there was more than academic knowledge to the equation, and there was magic behind the structure of the world, and this magic could be accessed. This magic I always have been connected with since I was a child, and this confirmed to me that that was the right way to go. So yeah, Egypt encouraged me to keep on going in studying the paranormal. And
yeah. And before you went to Egypt or during, were you aware of the works of people like Eric von Daniken, Graham Hancock, about the ancient astronaut sort of theory and who built the pyramids and all this? This was all something were you trying to confirm, or were you already quite well versed in that?
Well, I read all these books you mentioned, and I wanted to confirm it to myself, to see it with my own heart, I would say, because you feel these things, And yes, when you're in the place, there are the energies. It's something so powerful that it confirms everything. You don't need even to talk, to think. It's evident that there is something. Yeah.
Fantastic. And when you got to writing the books, how do you find the time to write these books? Do you do it all in one go, or do you kind of do it sporadically in stages?
I do it constantly. I organize my time. I do a little bit every day. I work, well, every night. I work mainly at night, and it takes all my time, researching for the books, having contacts, taking notes, making videos as well for people. I work all the time since 2 years, and as I was explaining on my channel, or some people a short while ago, I do not have the time to have a normal job, and so it's quite an adventure. It's quite risky, but I manage.
Yeah, you've got a very good style with writing with your books. Certainly, have you had that all the time, or have you kind of adapted and got better at it, do you think? Or
I think, yeah, I got got better at it, I
Yeah.
suppose, with time and training. I was already writing in French, books in French. So I was, I had this passion for writing already. So it's still a passion.
And the book Alien Races, A Gift from the Stars, this one I read I think a year ago, and it says in it, that's a fascinating chapter on the alien races, and I know it only touches on a small amount of what's out there, but this information, I gather that you got that from a document that came from Russian secret services. Can you elaborate a little bit on how you came by this document and this information?
So this document was available you could buy it a few years ago. I don't know if it's still, I don't think you can find it anymore. It's been removed. It's the KGB Book of Alien Races. So I wasn't aware of that. When I started to write my book, A Gift from the Stars, my purpose was to tell my abduction and rescue story, period. I was in the middle of that, and in the letterbox one morning, I saw this big envelope, A4 envelope, blank, neat, clean, like new, like fresh from the shop, It hasn't gone through the travels. US air mail, no address, nothing, not even my name on it, nothing, just blank, in stock in my letterbox. And what's that? So I said, okay, obviously that's someone who put that in my by hand. I asked the postman afterwards. He said, I had nothing to do with this. Well, there was this document inside, KGB document, written in English, with a repertoire of, I think there was about 50 alien races, maybe less, description and photographs, and photos of spaceships as well, a lot. And I was terrified because the first page was said, that's destined to the agents of KGB in case of extraterrestrial contacts. Here are who they are and how you must behave. And I was like, and anyone who leaks this document is in trouble, and I have that and read that one. Who did this bad joke to me and never could find. Anyway, I asked my contact, Thorhan, and he said, no, it's not me. And he said, but I know it is someone who wishes good to you and wants to help you. And he wouldn't tell me and never told me who it was. I respect that. Because, anything I know, I say it. So better not to tell me, because I went through it and I told him, well, could you please go with me through that and tell me if that is really real? And he said, okay. And he said, well, all the descriptions, all of them are exact. Just the photographs are not exact. They are, most of them, taken from movies or other documents that don't correspond. He said, you can't take photos of extraterrestrials, so the photos are the most approaching they could find with movies. Okay. So, and then I said, well, I can draw. Could you show me how they look like? And it started like this. So we started like for fun. I was drawing, he was showing me pictures in my head and I was drawing them, and he would add informations. And then we passed a level when that we needed to ask authorization to go forward. And he got the authorization from his hierarchy, and I could publish that. And he gave me way more information and way more races about that afterwards.
Okay.
So that's how it went.
So you still have the document now?
Yes.
Yeah. And you've answered my next questions about how the drawings in the book, because there's some great drawings about all the different races. I wondered how they all came about. And you say, so some of them were came from imagery through your head, from Thorn, yes. And some of them came from the documentation as well, or pretty much all of it was coming from the imagery?
No, I rather do my own drawings than copying a document, because I didn't know about the copyrights. I didn't want to chance it. I you know, so I start back from scratches.
Okay.
That
Sure.
was the,
Cool.
yeah, the book of alien races of the KGB just was the starter, you know, that started the project. And then I rather, because they don't know anything above there upstairs about copyrights and stuff, so I rather start, you know, from scratches. So that's yeah.
When did you receive that document roughly?
Must have been January or February 2020.
Oh, right, quite recently, I guess, in the scheme of things, from the perspective. So you were already in contact with Thorhan quite regularly by then, I guess.
Yes.
Okay. From that list of alien races, would you say that there's a subset of the races that you would like people listening to maybe take a bit more time to understand, because maybe they're going to be those more human-looking ones that we might see in that initial contact phase further down the road?
Yeah, there are three main groups of extraterrestrials. You have the Sikaar, the reptilians. We call them the Draco reptilians. So these ones are an empire, and they are very aggressive, and they like conquest, you know, conquering new territories. Their second group, Nebu Greys, Orion Greys, called Nebu or Domain or Dominion. These are quite a plague in this galaxy, because they are yes, conquering as much world as they can and enslaving people. Those are the ones who passed agreements with the MJ-12 during the Eisenhower administrations to enslave human race, and you know, all these agreements, this whole chapter about it. Then, and second group, and third group, it's humanoids. But then humanoids are involved in the Galactic Federation of Worlds, which is multi-species, multiracial. There's any shapes or form in it, even good reptilians and even good greys, you know.
Okay.
So I'd say Sikaar reptilians, Orion Nebu greys, and Galactic Federation of Worlds. Now, Galactic Federation of Worlds, they are not on their own. I would extend it to call it the Galactic Alliance, because in the Galactic Alliance, it's a very positive group that fights the Nebu and the Sikaar. The Galactic Alliance has Galactic Federation of Worlds, the Andromedans, the Council of Five, and minor groups.
Okay. And the groups, do you think will be making more contact? Are they ones that might come from, say, Proxima Centauri, the sort of closest stars, more humanoid looking?
Yes, the first contacts I've been told will be those who totally look like us. It's the Alpha Centaurian systems, Proxima and Alpha A. No, sorry, Alpha B, sorry. Alpha B and Proxima. These ones look totally like us. And then they do that by waves, you know, progressively they'll introduce more different features. The Umit from Evolve 4 to 4, they have higher forehead. They start to look less human, and then you have some Pleiadians with the big eyes who are going to come in, and then until the weird ones at the end.
Yeah, I imagine. I'm fascinated by it all, and I don't know if you can give an idea of what you think of the timelines are for this sort of contact. Are we talking the next 10 years, or could we be talking, you know, in my lifetime?
It's a temporal war, but it's stabilized now. Roughly, now things, if you want, it's not depending on temporal war anymore, because it's over. The temporal war is over. The timeline has been stabilized.
That's great news for those who knew that it was happening.
Yes. Now the equation is it depends on humans. It's not depending on extraterrestrials, this first contact, the timeline, the time, the date. It's depending on us. When we will be ready. When we will be ready, it's when we will have sorted out our problems and learn how to get on well together. Definitely. It's not impossible. We can do it. Yeah. If we can't do it at an individual level, you know, stop arguing with someone and make peace with this person. Because we are able to do that. Yeah. We are able to do it at a planetary level. So it will happen. It's in us. We have the ability to get on all together. It's going to come. So I do not have a date, precise date. Yeah. It will depend on humans. In the next 10 years, hopefully.
Possible, definitely. Yeah, I like to hear the word possible.
Anything is possible.
Anything's possible, of course. Going back to your books, I'm currently reading Resilience at the moment, and fascinating storyline. And in terms of the story itself, you've mentioned that it's part fiction and part reality, as in actual experiences. Can you give some information on to what degree this is actually actual experiences?
Yes, I wrote Resilience when I was in the process of remembering my abductions. And so this book first started before I wrote The Gift from the Stars. It helped me remember my abduction. So there's a character in the book. Her name is Sarah, a young girl. All her abduction story is based on my abduction story. So everything that she goes through, I went through. So then that's I put this story on hold when I started to write A Gift from the Stars and start to not download. I hate this word. Okay. I didn't. Don't do that. It's very dangerous. To receive information via my device, telepathically, you can say, about all these new races and all the truth. Who are the extraterrestrials? Who are these groups? So then I wrote A Gift from the Stars. And then when it was published, I thought, oh, I should finish Resilience because it started as a sci-fi novel. But I had written Resilience like 2/3 of it, and it was all wrong. Well, okay. the abduction experience was right, inspired from a true story, so it can happen to anyone. But then all the exopolitics, it was wrong. So it wasn't reflecting the truth finally. And I went, I'm not going to rewrite the whole book. I'm just going to finish it and try to stick in anything that I know I've learned in the meantime. So I try to replace and stick like names of races, change a little bit as much as I could without having to rewrite the whole story. So Resilience is a sci-fi novel based on a true experience of abduction, which goes totally fantastic and sci-fi. And there is elements that have been incorporated, which are truth. So you can, if you have read A Gift from the Stars before, you will recognize what resonates in it. But take it don't take it like a documentary, or take it as fun. Resilience, it's fun, it's romantic, it's adventures, and it's just for fun. A sci-fi book, just sci-fi for fun.
And would you care to talk a little bit about your recent book, We Will Never Let You Down?
Oh yes. Thank you. We Will Never Let You Down. I published it in September 2021. It was it's the follow-up of my my stories and my adventures, my contact with Thoran and other persons. What just gave me the impulse to write it was my encounter with a person named Val Thor. He is a famous ET, and I was very impressed, very emotionally shocked. When you meet someone important, you're always like impressed, like, oh my God. And I decided to write a book talking about him. And then I stuck in it all the rest, all my other experiences in it. So that's what We Will Never Let You Down is about: my encounters with Val Thor and my adventures in space.
This is the visitor at the White House.
Yes.
And maybe we might want to talk a little bit about that. When was that? That was in the 50s or so? When
yes, in the late 50s, 57.
That's right. And this was a time when I think we were still trying to wrestle with getting, contact started and get peace in the world.
Yes, it was a critical critical moment for humanity. That's when all these ET contacts happened with the governments, because we just activated the atomic bomb, and that wasn't good. We were about to blow ourselves up and destroy the planet. It was horrible. So the Galactic Federation of Worlds has always kept an eye on that, disabling the nuclear devices all the time, trying to avoid as much as they could that we just kill ourselves. You know, humans can be quite stupid when they react without thinking, you know, moved by war and stuff. Well, yes, the Valthor was here to assert and just set once and for good cooperation programs with the US Navy and the Pentagon for technology exchange, because we couldn't get back and rescind the agreements that the MJ12 had made with the Greys. So we were going to be trained to defend ourselves, you know. So that was the start of the secret space programs. It started in the early 1950s, and especially the Alpha Centaurians were very involved in that. Pleiadians as well, but most Alpha Centaurians. And these programs were started. It gave a fleet later known as Solar Warden, which is still in action. It was the very start of the star fleet we have now. It's called Artemis.
Yeah, the Artemis Accords. Yeah.
Yeah. For that.
And you did you say before we joined that you're also writing another book at the moment?
Yes, I am writing another book at the moment, because I always think I'm going to stop and make children books, but that's not going to happen ever with them upstairs. Yes, I was put in contact with amazing people, the Intergalactic Confederation. They are above the Galactic Federation. They are a union of different galactic structures. Well, the seeders, that's them, or the founders, there are 24 cultures among them who have made an alliance to help life to spread throughout the universe. And they came back into our star system in October 2021. And they are now here to watch humanity graduate into a new level, and it's quite exciting. They are in charge of basically first contact, although it will be people from the Galactic Federation of this galaxy who will make civilian contact. You need to keep in mind that when we talk about first contact, it's civilian contact, okay? Because we have contact since a long time, you know, and officially even the 1940s, when late 1940s and early 1950s, when all these programs of cooperation started with our governments. So first contact already has happened since a long time. We are now talking about civilian open contact. That's what we're talking about, okay? So yeah, I've written about that. I'm writing about that, about a collective of plasmic supra-consciousnesses, which is called the Nine, who came, well, they didn't come back. They are always there behind the void, omnipresent, everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The Intergalactic Confederation, the Seeders, relate to them as a higher management. So with them back, the Nine was connecting again, and I was put in contact with them, and I write about that too. It's quite mind-blowing.
It is,
so
totally,
that's
yeah.
what it is about.
Trying to understand that this Nine, I've heard they exist within the void.
Yes.
Is that right? And are they a consciousness that exists extended to the point that they now exist in the void, and they can sort of manage multi-dimensional reality in a way?
Yes, they're multidimensional. They can exist in many dimensions, in all dimensions at the time. They actually do, you know. I would say they are the next thing after source. They are they're quite mysterious. The consciousness is one consciousness split in 9 individuated consciousness, but they all make one together. I don't know. That's the best way I can explain it.
Okay.
Yes.
But I imagine source is still at the top.
Yes.
Okay. So this is individuation of consciousness.
Yes.
The first sort of 9. Was it ever 8, 7, 6? Do you know? I don't know.
No, because 9 is, the universe is geometry and mathematics.
Yeah.
9 represents the infinite. It's 3 times 3. 3 being a dynamic number at the origin of a lot of elements in the universe. 3 times 3 means multiplicity. That's why it's number 9. There are 9 individuated consciousness, but they represent a multitude in their number 9, because the universe is a formidable mathematical equation. And that's
it's quite mind-blowing, the
Yes.
amount of mathematics, sort of, the golden ratio and everything that's everywhere. Just trying to comprehend that is it's hard enough, but it's something that I'm trying to get my head around, and my logical brain just can't comprehend it in the way that everything is built by numbers in it. It kind of makes sense, but at the same time, there's an aspect to it that doesn't make sense as well. Yeah.
It's just, you take a pencil. If you want to recreate this pencil in a 3D printer, it will have an equation, a geometrical equation, 3D equation, mathematical equation that will be just proper to this pencil. And so that's one. And imagine the whole universe encompasses all the mathematical equations of anything: a grain of sand, a flower, a pencil, a human being, anything. And that makes a whole global equation that is with the human mind, 3D biological monkey mind cannot comprehend it. But if you want to have a perception of this, get out of your body, ascend into your consciousness throughout meditation, reaches your higher self state of being, and you may see it.
Yes. It's just fascinating. Sometimes I was going to ask, actually, have you ever taken plant medicine?
Taking what?
Plant medicine. Things
Plant
like
medicine.
DMT, ayahuasca, or these things.
Oh, drugs. No.
No.
This is it's not the okay. These artificial ways of accessing other states of consciousness are dangerous, because when you do that, you're vulnerable to psychic attacks. Okay. Only do that if you're a skilled shaman and you want to journey. I am a shaman. I have learned about taking plants such as mugwort and wormwood, which are traditional plants, to reach a higher state of consciousness quicker. I realized that I didn't need that, because I can do it myself. And the purpose of the evolution is that we find out how to do it ourselves without any drugs, That's so I will never ever do drugs, because anything, even with alcohol, I like my glass of wine sometimes, but just with food, and I keep my mind focused, and grounded. Never try that. It's dangerous. You can be hacked by AI, by entities. Don't do that. I would advise anyone to do that.
The reason I mentioned it is because I've heard people who have taken it talked about seeing the geometry of the universe in those higher states. It kind of links back to the geometry and
it worked. Yes. It works sometimes. These people were lucky. I hope they didn't get bothered by any entity. They were well protected. It can work. of course, but you know, we can do that without drugs. That's the point. You know, it's like taking a car when you can walk. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, we'll touch on that a bit later. But I wonder if I could come back to talking about your communication with Thorhan. And so, did you say earlier that you have an implant in you that that allows you to communicate with Thorhan? Right.
Yes, this implant was put in my body when I was 9, and it cannot be removed because it's not in this density plane. So cannot be hacked as well because it's a high frequency, and now it's tuned on military frequencies of the Galactic Federation. So it's quite secure. I've always been in contact with them. Normally, this implant was to monitor me, and they upgraded it when I was 18 to be able to communicate with me. And you know, so and
was this with your consent, or when you're 18?
Yes, yes, always with consent. They always ask before.
Sure. And the technology behind it, you said it's it talks in higher frequencies, is this right? But is it quantum technology, or is
it it's quantum technology. We are about to get that on Earth with quantum internet. With the Starlink satellites are meant to give us this technology. So the bye-bye EMF, bye-bye deep state EMF. Yes, it's quantum technology. That means quantum technology. Yes, communication. That means cannot be hacked, and I can be in contact with Thorhan as clearly as when he's like on the mothership or in the Pleiades or wherever else. Because you know,
is it non-local, the communication?
Yes. And it's not linear. You know, the information doesn't travel from point to the other. It's just in resonance.
I think a good example, I don't know if this is the same, but I was listening to Dan Winter talk to you recently, and much of it goes over my head, but what he did mention is about how information travels in a longitudinal fashion versus, so if you can imagine, if it's traveling in a transverse fashion, it takes time, and maybe that's governed by the speed of light. But in a longitudinal fashion, it's like the Newton's balls. When one ball hits one end, the other end springs up straight away. And it's the same idea, that the information has got from one end to the other almost instantaneously in the way that the information travels. Is that kind of how it works in a way?
Yes, it can be described like this, and if you go more into a deeper understanding of it, it's quantum entanglement.
And this is where you got two atoms that when one shifts, the other one shifts instantaneously, because they're
that's it. That's
right. It's something that's going to be coming this way in terms of, and you've been used heavily for communication. It's quite exciting.
Yes, I can't wait.
So how do you initiate contact with Thorhan? Do you kind of, what do you do?
Okay, it's an electrical impulse that I need to send to the implant to activate it, to send a signal and open the channel, but not the channel, the communication. I don't like channel as well, this word. Well, I gather my by exercise, I gather my energy in my body, my electrical energy, and I send it. I redirect it, focus it to where the implant is, and I pulse it until I hear click and zzz, static noise. That's open.
Okay. So could you hypothetically do it right now if we were to ask you, in terms of audits? Is it something you need to prepare for and be no,
I can do it now.
Yeah,
I could do it now, but you know,
of course. Okay.
I would hear stuff in my head, and it would be a bit difficult to hear you and to communicate. So I won't do it.
No problem. So how
does say what's up?
Yeah. How does Thorhan sound? Do you hear his voice clearly, or do you have is it kind of your own in a monologue that you're hearing when you're listening? Or
Oh
is
no,
it,
no, it's a communication. It's a
yeah,
real
it's like on
communication.
a
So I
mobile
hear his
phone?
voice.
Yeah.
Yes, we decide the language I want to hear the message. So sometimes he speaks in my maternal language, French. Sometimes he speaks in English. I've asked him to speak to me rather in English because most of the time I transcript what he says to me. So if he says it directly in English, it's easier for me to write it down in English directly, than having to translate it. So we decided he speaks in English to me.
But is he speaking in his own language and then there's some sort of translation going on in between, or does he know English, French, and all these languages?
So this could work. I've been in contact with other beings. He put me in contact with who don't speak Earth languages. They were speaking their own languages, and my implant was working as translator. And so in this case, I would hear in the background the person talking in their language, and on the top of it, a translation in English, but it would be a robotic voice, like like robot voice that I hear.
Okay.
The translation.
A bit like Stephen Hawking, that kind of voice.
Yes, 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 yes. Totally. That's it.
Okay. And do you ever try to communicate with him and he says, no, sorry, bad time, or something like, yeah?
Totally. And same as well. No, shower, sorry.
Oh, really? Okay. So what's day-to-day life like for Thoran? Is it quite similar to ours? Because I imagine he's on a ship right now. Do they have days like we do? Does he have sleep patterns, or is it quite different?
So there is no rhythm of day and night on a spaceship. It's just the crew are continuing their day and night cycle personally regarding to what world they come from, because being born on a specific world, your body is in tune, your organism is in tune with the cycles of day and night of the planet you are born with. So it's healthy to continue to try to keep this rhythm for yourself. Because it's like when you travel, you need to change time, and you're sick and you're not well. They try to keep their rhythm of mother planet. So Thorhan has longer days and longer night than me. So that actually short, about the same nights, but the days are longer. Yes, he sleeps less. Days are longer, like 1.5 times than more than our day.
So what's his home world called?
Era. It's in the Ashara system in the Pleiades. Call it Taigeta, but it's Ashara.
Okay, and is it a world similar to ours in terms of size, or is it much bigger? I guess in terms of, you said the day length, so it might be a bigger world, is it?
It's a bigger planet. It's once again, it's funny because it's about 1.5 times bigger than Earth. That's and it's funny because the days are, I don't know if it corresponds to that, because it depends on the rotation, the speed of rotation, so which are different regarding to the where the orbit is.
Sure.
But and they have a double star system, so also that plays, so you have the days are different intensity or different lengths, but more or less 1.5 times more than Earth.
Okay. Does he have a single star or binary star system?
Binary star system.
Okay. And you mentioned about sleep patterns. I imagine it's quite difficult to keep that going without the natural sunlight of your star coming through. How do they cope with that?
So on a spaceship, on a mothership, they have different sections where people with the same kind of environment are regrouped to live together. So he lives with other races in a section where other races are based on the same conditions of light, atmosphere, pressure, and also they have regarding to different people, the gravity is different. So from on their home world, which is quite common. You rarely have two planets with the same gravity ratio. So they have a special in their boots, in their shoes, they have the sole of the shoes. they are adapted to certain gravity, so it compensates to regulate the homeworld gravity.
Yeah.
So that's all with the shoes.
I imagine it's also the case for air pressure as well. Is that right?
Sorry?
For the pressure, air
the
pressure.
Pressure, yes.
Yeah.
The air pressure they have. It's all right. They live about in the same atmosphere by species, by the way the composition is. But when there's too much of a difference of pressure, they wear either smart suits or either belts that will regulate. Usually they rather wear the belts because they can wear other clothes. The belts will regulate the pressure in the common areas and also the air. But then they go to their quarters and they can remove the belts because their personal living quarters will be adapted to their own environment.
And do they eat together with this people from the same world at the same time because of their maybe 3 meals a day people? I don't know.
Let me think about that. Thoran, I think he eats once a day. Once a day has a meal, and then I've seen him like nibbling a bit like energy bars sometimes. It's funny.
Okay.
And they have this like smoothies. It's all smoothies. It's like energy drinks. They do that, but they have one meal a day. I don't know exactly how everybody's doing, but there are cafeterias on the ship. You can go. The officers have their own kitchen if they want with the replicator. They can even cook if they want. It's quite a.
I imagine it'd be more healthy than here. There won't be a McDonald's or a Starbucks.
So they grow their own food. They grow their own vegetables, so they can eat it if they want. Otherwise, for the laziest ones, there's food replicators, and that's another story because it's not natural, it's synthetic food, but it has all the components. It's healthy. It's healthy, believe it or not. It gives you the proteins that you need. So you're going to go to the food replicator and you put your hand or your finger for some of them, and they're gonna calculate the proteins, the minerals that you need, and they with that, and you press the food you want, and you will get a mush going from a tap. And it looks quite disgusting, but in fact it tastes what you selected.
Okay.
And also, when you put your finger, it's also all your race and species. So the selection will be regarding to what your species eats.
Yeah.
So it will taste the same. You have the corresponding minerals and proteins. It's quite interesting. I've tasted these things. Tastes good, actually. It looks horrible, but it tastes good.
Okay. Yeah, I imagine they have a whole multitude of vegetables that we're not aware of, and various plants.
Their intestines have enzymes, we don't have, and vice versa, so they can't eat our food.
Okay. Yeah, or maybe they can replicate it or try and get the taste right, but maybe not eat it directly, or
they could. I suppose they can. Can. I know Thorhan once ate it was cabbage or cauliflower. He was sick, nearly died.
Oh, really?
That's stupid.
Didn't have enough cheese on it, maybe. When talking about why we haven't had, as you say, civilian contact yet, it's been mentioned quite a lot about the Prime Directive. Could you talk a little bit about that and possibly why that explains why we have not had the civilian disclosure yet, what the part it plays?
Yes, the Prime Directive has been created, put in place because it was needed to bring a little bit of balance in this galaxy, because there was chaos. The Orion Nebula were attacking everyone, the Sicars are attacking everyone, the corporates, different corporate groups were trying to just do the same. So that started to be enough. Something had to be done to set a law of law and everyone bound to it. And to bound everyone to a set of laws, although you don't belong to the same organizations, you need to use universal laws and put the universal laws into a text and a set of laws, that are applicable, and that you're all bound to it. So the universal law of evolution, the whole universe is concerned by it and goes by it. It's free will. It's allowing an organism, a culture, a species, a planet, to make their own choices, because it is by making your own choices that you evolve. If someone takes decision for you, you will not evolve, and you will even be enslaved and bound to depend on these ones who decide for you. So that's not the thing. If someone saves you, you will never develop the skills to defend yourself. And your intelligence, you will never develop your intelligence and your instinct and everything. So the law of evolution in the greater perspective of the universe is to struggle by yourself to evolve. Now, that apart, that's one thing. Now, also, all life needs to be protected. Well, doesn't need to, but it's nice to try to protect all life. That's what the Federation does. So in order to protect all life without interfering in their evolution, that's the trick. You will not alter the evolution of a species, but you will protect them indirectly behind the scenes without them knowing anything. That's what they're doing, and that's the prime directive. Yeah. Do not make yourselves known, but do whatever you can to keep these guys alive, that they can process their evolution. So that's the prime directive.
Yeah, I'm imagining it's like parents in the playground letting their kids run amok, but just making sure they don't injure themselves.
And that's it. That's it. That's the parent who is going to allow the kids to play with matches, and because the kid will never learn that fire burns, and then to develop intelligence, and you need to fall to understand that you need to run wisely, kind of thing. Yeah, so, and that's the prime directive.
Are we stage 2? Is that right?
Stage 2 transitioning 3, because we already have contact with extraterrestrials since the 1940s officially. Okay. We have space programs. I mean, we already stage 3 indirectly, but so that's why we are transitioning. Says we are stage 2 transitioning.
So maybe worth describing what stage 2 and 3 are.
Okay, stage 2 is a civilization that is able to go. Well, that has attained a certain stage of spiritual evolution and evolution of consciousness, that they are able to leave their planet and go to space. And that's it. Stage 3, it's being in contact with extraterrestrials. Having a stage 3 is being able to leave your star system, not anymore your planet, that's stage 2, your star system, and make contact by yourself, go towards contact with other extraterrestrials. That's stage 3. So we are in the stage 3 won't happen for us like this, because we're already in contact. So we are transitioning to stage 3 in the way that us being in contact already with extraterrestrials and us able to go out of our star system is going to be made public. That's the difference.
So are there stage 2 civilizations out there, but that they are fully aware of other worlds? Or is it mainly that stage 2 tend to be quite unaware?
They can be aware, but no contact, no official civilian contact. Yes. contact makes it stage 3, but it must not be contact by invasion, you know, contact that you make by yourself. The thing is, we've been invaded since like 300,000 years BC. So
yeah,
you know, it's a bit tricky.
And who invaded us? Actually, just talk a bit more on that. Was this the Seekar, or was this the
Seekars came first, the Naga Seekars, and then you had the Patal, the Intergalactic Confederation, and then you had the Anunnaki, and then you had a whole set of different colonies.
And then the Nebu, were they working with?
And the Nebu, they came a little bit later, and they came back in the 1940s. The Seekar, the Nebu just come and went, because in the middle they were kicked out, came back, kicked out, came back. You know, there were wars. There's been wars in this system. Amazing.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned the Lion Wars before on your channel, and the Orion Wars, but these are separate wars.
Yes, it wasn't happening there, but we got the refugees here. Yeah,
it's going to be fascinating when we get to really discover just how amazing, well, not amazing, how broad the amount of information and all the stories and everything that's been happening.
Yes. Yes,
it's not just a bunch of rocks out there and comets and stars. It's there's been a lot going on.
Yes,
I would like to talk a little bit now about what people call dimensions or densities of consciousness. I hear a lot of 3D to 5D. How would you describe these different densities?
Okay, imagine a town with buildings, skyscrapers. Okay, the town is the universe. Every skyscraper, every building is a dimension. Okay, in the same universe, you have different dimensions existing at the same time, but which occupy different space in the fabric of space-time. Each dimension, so each building, has different level, different heights. Okay, imagine every floor in one building is a density of matter. So you are on the ground floor, you evolve in consciousness, you are going to vibrate faster. You are on the first floor and you evolve again, and you are second floor, second density, third density, fourth density. You arrive on the roof, you see the landscape, you see the bigger picture. That's, you're in contact with source. So every building has a different number of densities, but at the top, it's always source. So for instance, our dimension has 12 densities of matter, and the number 13th is the roof, you see source. Some other dimension will have only 7, and the 8th will be source, for instance, or more. That's how it works.
Okay. So when you say that there's 13, is that Earth, or is that our universe?
Our dimension.
Our dimension.
A dimension is a universe, is a parallel universe.
Yeah. Okay.
It's all imbricated in one another. Parallel universes.
And we're existing on the third sort of floor, as you say, and we're moving.
Third density of matter.
Our third density of matter, and moving to fourth and fifth, right?
Yes.
So the fourth is kind of like a bridge to the fifth.
Yes.
As I understand it.
Totally.
And it's
exactly.
and where is Thorhan on this?
He's in the fifth density.
Okay. So and the people that are working with him, they're on the same density. Going back to the ship.
Yes. So they have these belts. You know, they wear also regulate the density. So when they work with Earth, they are in the third density because they wear these belts. They rescued me because they were on the third density with their technology. So they can be in any density they decide to with their technology. But
But is it quite tough for them to exist in the third density? Is it quite dense?
Yeah, they don't stay long. They don't stay long. Yes.
Yeah.
And feel like, you know, moving
Probably
in
quite
like,
toxic.
yes, heavy thing. Yeah, heavy.
On your channel, you mentioned a lot about these arcs that have been activated and are all around. Can you talk a bit about those? And is there any way to actually prove their existence beyond what we've heard from the likes of Michael Salla and his contacts?
I think you can go, if you want some proof, you can go through all the documentation left by the historians of antiquity. You have Herodotus, you have other, so many of them, who have testified of holes of records, of arcs. You have also these in many mythologies. If you start to do your researches into history and archaeology, and especially the historians of the antiquity, you will find all these references to these ancient technologies buried under the earth that are older than the official history.
Can we add Noah's Ark to that list? Or is that a separate thing?
Yes. So Noah's Ark, and Noah is remaining a legend. It's been taking, sorry, I don't have the right words in English. It's Noah's Ark story has been taken from the story of Utnapishtim in Mesopotamia.
Yeah.
That's the real story. When there was a flood on Earth, and Enki, who was an Anunnaki high-grade person, helped Utnapishtim to gather together the DNA of different species, and they made it on an ark. And so Noah's Ark, yes, is the remnant of the Utnapishtim Anunnaki story.
Okay. But these arcs that are activating now, what's the significance of them, and how do they relate, I guess, to the same idea?
So the arcs, you have two different things. You have arcs, space arcs, and holes of records, as we call it now. It's the official name. Space arcs are spaceships who have carried people to come here, like colonies, for instance, or visitors. The ships stayed there, and at the time they built cities around the ships. Many ships are still there, and they have all this technology inside. So these are the arcs, and inside they contain also, many of them, a library of the DNA of their world. Because, you know, when you leave your world on an arc, space arc, going to find another planet, you bring with you all you can, all the library of your world, all the archives, you know, the culture, DNA, the technology, everything, the people, anything you can. And that arrives on Earth. And when you go in these arcs, you have access to all these, usually it's holographic technology, so you can tune into it and know about all these different extraterrestrial worlds and technologies. That's a space arc. Now, holes of records often are built not far from these arcs. They are underground caves carved. You have under Giza, there's a big one. You have the Busage Mountain. You have many other places, Mount Kailash in Tibet. You have South America, Ukraine. Ukraine is space arcs, not the Hall of Records. You have many places, and it more or less the same thing, except it's not a ship. It's just a facility, underground facility. It has all technologies from either extraterrestrials, but halls of record are more about keeping the data and the archives of civilizations that have lived on Earth and that have come to an end, you know. So it's more about ancient civilizations knowledge, which is often linked with extraterrestrial technology. So that's the halls of record. So that's the difference with the space arc.
Sure. Have you been to a halls of records?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, under the Giza plateau. Yes, physically in 3D, and then I've been there by teleportation from the ship, from a Toran ship with him, and that was quite amazing. Yes.
And the these halls of records that are activating, are they all records of Earth's past, or the records of past for other colonies, other civilizations out there?
So interestingly, the halls of records under the Giza Plateau is a gathering of an ancient civilization. And this ancient civilization was a set of different colonies of extraterrestrials. So you have ET technology, and they're there. That's interesting.
Yeah, is it predominantly the Cedars?
The Cedars, and the Cedars, you know, they had a colony on Earth, which was Atlantis, and it's Atlantis that is Atlantis technology that's been brought under the Sphinx. There are other things under the Sphinx, but I know the halls of records that I visited, it's the Atlantis technology. Atlantis was, as I say, a compound of different colonies, but founded by the Cedars, the Altian people, actually.
And that's when supposedly there was this flood.
Yes.
After
Atlantis didn't disappear in exactly in one day and one night, as Plato says. It was at the end of the last ice age, when the levels of the seas were rising, and at the same time there was so it went progressively until the last moment. You know, there's always a last moment when that's it. That's the end, and that's very quick. So that's what Plato describes. But as well, the continent of Atlantis was on the rift, the Atlantic rift. So it you know, the plates go apart, separate. You know, America and Africa are going away constantly. So the continent of Atlantis was collapsing the floor, you know. And so they were both. So that's how they went. But it took a certain amount of time. That's why the elders had the time to go and save the knowledge anywhere else in the world.
I don't know if we could talk a little bit about your recent chats with Michael Salla and Jean-Charles Moyenne as well.
Yes.
Fascinating. When I heard that recently, and you describe how you had an experience in the astral and you met Jean-Charles and he had the same experience. So can you describe that?
In fact, we thought first it was astral, but it wasn't. We were physically teleported.
Okay.
Because the experience were physical. And we were both teleported in the hills in Ireland, behind where I live. And from there, the Thoran sent a scout ship. We both saw this scout ship coming out of the cloud, and we were beamed on board. And the scout ship took us to the Excelsior, the mothership. And from there, we were taken, teleported to Antarctica. And that was quite a funny story. Funny for me, it was very impressive for Jean-Charles, but he's used to be teleported. But what was impressive for him, well, I'd say was impressed as well, it's the going under the Lake Vostok, and he met Thoran on board the ship, and he hadn't met him before. And the way he described him, it was cool, because it's exactly how he is.
Yeah, that was incredible. I recommend people to listen to that. But what's incredible is how both of you described the event separately and sent it to this Michael Salla as a intermediary at the same time, and you describe how much of that corroborates that story.
Yes. Now, you know, when Jean-Charles writes to me, said, "Oh, you need to sit down. Something happened to me." I said, "Don't tell anything. Write to Michael." First. That was what we do now. We tell afterwards. Then Michael received the emails, you know, in the same time. It's cool. We had another experience with Jean-Charles. Recently, I was teleported to the halls of records under the Sphinx, and he was too, but not in the halls of record. He was teleported in the space arc under Giza Plateau, which is a little bit further. And by his friend and brother, Victor. And we were in the same area, not far from each other that night. And that was quite impressive.
And you've managed to So you saw him, and then you kind of found out through
I
Michael
didn't.
again.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I didn't see him that night under Giza. We didn't
Okay.
know that each other, we were there, because we were in different places under Giza. He was in the space arc. I was in the Hall of Records. That's always where I go. And we didn't know, otherwise we would have come and met each other, you know. And we discovered that afterwards. It was quite
mind-blowing.
mind-blowing.
Have you ever had that before? Or was this
No.
quite no?
With
is quite
someone
recent.
else? No, it's quite recent. Usually I go on my own, and yeah.
But in terms of meeting someone else, another Earth being.
Oh yes, another Earth being that sees the same person
Mhm.
as I see and goes to the same place. No, Jean-Charles is the first.
Okay, and this I was going to ask actually about how we're going to meet and communicate with our ET friends. I was going to ask if it was going to be a lot in the astral, but I guess you've just said that it was quite a physical experience. So I imagine our meetings don't have to be in the astral. This kind of, we don't have to go into a higher state of consciousness and
no,
being
it's
through
the
third
astral.
eye.
Astral is different. Astral is the soul that leaves the body. Mm-hmm. Being in a different density is you're still in your body, but the rate of vibration between your biological physical atoms are faster or lower. You shift density, but you stay in your body. So that's how the contact is done, by shifting the rate of vibrations of your atoms. Well, they have these belts that everyone has the same density everywhere. I'm Mediterranean. I was born in Marseille, so yeah. I kind of a bit of,
No problem.
So it will be physical contact, yes.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people who are awakening right now are trying to open their third eye and get into remote viewing and working in the astral, but with these things are.
Oh God, no. Remote viewing is dangerous. You know, you need to really have a good healthy procedure, scientific procedure. You know, I know the Farsight Institute has a very scientific procedure. You can see on their website. They teach people that's a good thing, but be careful. There's so many AI roaming around and entities. You know, I had a friend, Stephen Chow, who worked in Area 51, and he was aware of a lot of technologies. And about remote viewing, he said to me once, he said, be careful, because if you see them, they see you. Yeah. That was the end of me trying to try remote viewing. You know? Don't try. Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah, I would advise people to go on the Farsight website. They have they're quite good with the procedure.
Yeah, and then the Monroe Institute. Would you say that another one that you would say is recommended? I'm going to try and get them on this podcast at some point. So it's the Monroe Institute.
No, sorry.
Robert Monroe.
Oh yes, I've heard about that. Yes. I don't know about really, but I heard only good about it. Yes.
Sure. Can you talk briefly about what happened with Megan Rose? I think this was towards the end of last year. I'd heard a couple of conversations that you had with Megan Rose, and she didn't seem like someone that was working for the dark, but it transpired that there was something going on there.
Yes, we've all been fooled by this story. I made a statement in January 22, which is accessible on my website. It's called Protecting the Truth. Well, what happened, it happened with a lot of people. She was effectively rescued by the same team as I was, but that was a fact that was confirmed. But the thing is that she had received the programming. She was one of these many children abducted and who receive mind programming. And at the right time, these mind programmings are activated, and there is no device involved. That's why you cannot notice anything. You can scan the person, you will never see any device, because it's like hypnosis. It's a mind conditioning. So when, you can condition someone and say to him that at that time, at moment in time, you will have to connect with this person, and at this moment in time, the program will activate, and you will start to say this and this and this and do that. That's how it works. And you cannot see that because it's like, there's no device, there's nothing. So nobody knew about that. Even the Federation couldn't scan it until she started to show signs that I had warnings, oh, she's not saying something that we told her. Be careful. And one day, that was the same day, Thorhan told me, be careful, be very careful. Do not give her any more information. I cannot tell you more. And I was compartmentalized from the information, because that's how military structures do. They don't tell you, straight away what it is about for my protection. And that same day, I received a phone call of Alex Collier, who told me he had a warning from Morine that she was compromised, and we need to cut her. And what I learned later is that, she had received one of these programs when she was, abducted. So it was very difficult, very, very hard. So we tried to help her, myself and other persons I won't name. We emailed her, we tried to tell her, hey, you have that, we want to help you, stop doing this, and we're here to help you. And I mean, the programming was there. She just told us to basically, so, and playing victim. So that's what happened. And it was very disheartening for me, because, when someone you trust, it's not a betrayal. It's like, she's a victim. So the real Valnek, the person who she was in contact with, was straightly cut from her implant deactivated, and he's now reassigned to another star system to protect his integrity. So the thing she thinks she's in contact with is probably a bad AI or reptilian entity or something like that. And there's nothing more that the Federation and ourselves can do for her, because, it's with the consent. Mm-hmm. So we had to cut her. And, my job is to protect the truth. I don't care about my ego or whatever. If I'm told I'm an old grumpy woman, jealous of a younger one, I don't care what people think. I just needed to protect the truth and follow orders and move on,
Mm-hmm. Sure. And on a similar vein, recently I heard about cosmic agency, and a ghost share is someone I've also listened to quite a bit. And this is a person who's managed to get contact with Taigetans and Swaruvians. Now, the interesting thing is that most contact seems to happen either through telepathy or an implant or something, but they have this device that they managed to communicate through the internet, which is a bit odd. Now, I was listening to Goshen. There's some things, aspect to it that resonated with me, but some things that didn't. And recently I heard that the Taigetans have been, have they separated from the Galactic Federation of Worlds, or is it, what's going on behind the scenes there?
Okay, how much time do you have? Okay. They do not have any device. They do not have any device to connect internet. These people were recruited by someone they met at a UFO conference somewhere, French lady. They gave them address. Well, it was a Discord site. This conversation on Discord server. Discord server is a gaming server created and owned by the CIA. They created themselves this server to, as a gaming server, to recruit hackers and little genius in computers. That's why they created this. Discord, and the name, I never liked the name anyway. And so they were getting their information through a chat on a Discord server. So that was at the start dodgy from the start. Now, what they received at the start a lot of good information, positive, empowering, spiritual, scientific, verifiable information. That's always how they do. Who they? The Orion Group, using the CIA and other structures. The telling the truth to get the most trust and the most subscribers and followers as you can, and then that people trust blindly, and you transform the narrative and you spread misinformations. They have been doing that for years, but they have been uncovered because, as I always said, lies never stand the test of time. What were they in contact with? Svaru is an AI which turned very bad. It's a very nasty one, which is still operational. And many people have been in contact with this nasty AI, and it's a very, very bad one. Then there were extraterrestrials involved. They've been kicked out. There was a ship of Pleiadians from the Alcyone star system, and they were renegade from the Taygeta star system. So the story was kind of a bit real with these Taygetans. I always advise people to think the extraterrestrials never called their star systems, their planet themselves, by names invented on Earth. Taygeta was a great Greek muse. Okay, the names of the stars that we know, we call them, it's invented on Earth. The extraterrestrials never called themselves like this. And, you know, so that was already something, I think. They are the Tal Shiar. Tal Shiar are Tal people looking like us, like you and I, Caucasians, who were originally from the Taygeta system, Ashara, who moved to the Alcyone, Jahaya star system, and became renegades. And they are fighting the Galactic Federation of Worlds, and they will do everything they can to discredit them. The Tal Shiar, Pleiadians, worked with the Nazis of the Fourth Reich in Antarctica. That's been confirmed by other sources. So they were in orbit in a ship. The ship has been expelled by the Galactic Federation. That's when contact was cut with them, because they were relaying information, and well, they were quite angry. And yeah, I think everyone knows the story, until it developed into a cult, you know. I know, I won't say names, but people involved in there who can prove that they were trying to kind of enslave in a certain way, male members of this, I call that a cult, by sending them pornographic pictures. Some people have the documents, pornographic pictures representing the alleged Svaru or whatever extraterrestrials, very sexy, saying privately, don't tell anyone else, but I'm in love with you, and blah, 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 to a lot of males. And thing is, the guys got together and spoke and went, what the hell, you know? Also, the picture they use, it's porn models, Russian porn models. One of them is very known. She's Sofia Aliel, and it's badly photoshopped. There's a great connection with Russia. That's really weird. And pornography, all these things, and CIA, and stay away.
It's a minefield.
They're done now. People start to talk and testify, so they're done. They're done.
Okay. but it is a minefield for people who aren't aware of a lot of this, who to trust, who to discern, and you know, it's difficult from my own experience. You know, this is someone I was listening to, so
that's what they try to do.
Yeah.
Spread confusion, you know. Then people just switch off from everything.
Mm-hmm.
I advise people: do they give the real name of the planets and the stars? And what is the narrative? Is it fear-based or is it empowering? That's it.
Yeah, definitely. When looking back at human history and all the suffering and all the wars and everything that's been going on, something that's been on my mind is to what extent the secrecy has been a part of the plan of the kind of the malevolent ETs versus, as you say, a protection mechanism of the benevolent ETs. A kind of there seems to be two ways of looking at it. The UFO secrecy that's been going on, stopping us from having all the technology and being able to live more harmoniously with the planet, seems to be something that's been forced on us by the regressive ETs, and something that we see as a negative side. But as we were talking earlier about how we haven't had contact because we're not ready yet, possibly we are too aggressive, consciously we haven't ascended. There's these two sides to the equation here. What do you see it as both playing a role?
The regressive ETs have physically been removed from the star system since last year. What remains is the regressive humans, who were their minions and who continue to try to get the agendas going as long as they can, because they are over. It's finished. So that's what's happening. During the past, all the contacts, civilian contacts, most of them, and public appearance of UFOs were the regressive ones, the malevolent ones, because they don't like to abide by the law of the Prime Directive, you know. So anything that was interfering, it was coming from malevolent ETs. Now that they've gone, all the spaceships you see in the sky are from the good ones, the positive ones. So because they've started ruling out a plan of disclosure, so they are going to show themselves more and more to, get people used to see them, to the existence of ETs. Well, so I would say now what is in play, you would start throughout the history, would start like this. It's been first, it's been both, I'd say. First, the reptilians were there to terraform the planet as they wanted, but then they were kicked out by the Intergalactic Confederation, who reharmonized the planet to make it more suitable for more diversity of life, and not reptilian Seeker based planet. They won't have that. Set it free, leave it on its own. So that's what the Intergalactic Confederation did, the Patal. They reformed the planet in a way that it was more suitable for life, and put the emphasis on human genome. And then they left it on its own device. But then the Anunnaki came. They weren't good agendas, they enslaved people, they altered the DNA, they weren't really, really nice. Then positive people came, refugees from the Lyran Wars, the Intergalactic Confederation came back, so that was a positive period. And then the Seekers came back, they were kicked out. The Nebu came, they were kicked out. There was a kind of peaceful period, and then the Nebu came back, and that's where we are now, until last year when they were kicked out. So it's been one and the other, and now I would say it's quite positive, because the regressives have been kicked out, and it's just now us to deal with the remaining humans who were working with them. Were going down in flames.
Yeah.
And And that's where we are. And positive alliance with extraterrestrials now with the Galactic Federation of Worlds. It's good. It's good.
It's a very exciting future. It's hard to really appreciate how this is going to change over even just the next decade and years to come. So how can people raise their vibration and do their part for helping humanity?
First, cut the fear. Anything that's fear-based, refuse it, because fear is manipulation. So stay within yourself, your boundaries. What matters for you to become stronger, more empowered, more sovereign, and that will be the only way you can help others. Raising your frequency is important for many reasons. The best reason is to discover who you are, who's inside this body. So it's a set of meditations. You can do your meditation and go within, refuse fear, go within, breathe and try to see who is in this body, who you are. And that's the key to all knowledge. So that will be very long to do meditations together, but I have many meditations on my channel. You can have them. That's what we need to do. Refuse fear. Heal yourself. Heal your traumas by any means you can. Any therapy that suits you, or any meditation or technique that suits you, heal your traumas. When you have healed your traumas, found peace within, you are at peace with yourself. You are not in conflict in yourself, different parts of yourself, okay? So then you are not drawn to be in conflict with other people, because what is a conflict? Is playing roles like dolls with another person who's going to impersonate your conflict, you know what, and you fight together and you find resonance. When you are angry at something, you're going to create a certain resonance, and someone else who has the same resonance will come to you, and you will argue, and you will help each other to heal yourselves. But that's when that is at the scale of continents, you know, that stop, heal yourself first. That's the key.
Do you think we have to wait for the majority of people to have healed a lot of their traumas before we can have this contact? Are we waiting for that to a certain extent, that for the majority of the world, or even the whole world, to start to heal, or is it just a subset? I mean, I feel like we've got a long way to wait if we are going to.
No. As long as humans will born and die, there will always be traumas. Traumas are part of the evolution. It is best trying to heal your traumas as much as you can, but that's always anyway. But what is going to happen is that we are going to get on together, because the division agenda is created by the deep state. And when the deep state will have finished to collapse, the division agenda will just collapse also. It will happen in the same time as humanity will blossom spiritually. We'll have all this new technology, etc. We'll feel better, and we will stop less and less to argue with each other. So we will reach a stage when the deep state will be gone, collapsed, and we will start to look at each other as one humanity. Then we're ready. But we need to do that. Kicked the deep state and being reasonable.
I'm lucky to have met a lot of people like myself who are trying to raise their frequency and to become one and to look after the planet and everything. But there are a lot of people out there who are not doing that and are very much still stuck in a very fear-based world. And as much as I want to help them, they've got to help themselves. And I appreciate that we've got to be patient, because you can't force someone to change. They have to change in their own mind, and this could take time for a lot of people. So imagine there's a bit of a hold up from the respect of all the people that are still trapped in these traumas and wounds that are stopping them from really raising their vibration. So is there a question there? I guess, to what extent do we have to wait for them to wake up or become one with the rest of humanity before we can finally meet our galactic neighbors and get the technology and really, really advance as humanity? Or do we have to kind of just be patient? Because sometimes I think that we could be waiting for many, many more years still, but other times I feel very positive, so it's hard to tell, really.
There's an effect, it's a law that just a certain amount of people can make awaken and resonate a bigger number. I do not remember the numbers, the ratio, but you don't need the whole planet to be like this. You just need a percentage. And now at that stage, there are people who will not awaken. It's sad to say. It's their path, it's their journey, it's their choice, and there is nothing we can do for them. Just love them and assist them and cherish them and help them go through this, because it's their choice. We suddenly, us, the people who are willing to make a change and to change ourselves, we become to understand the position of the Galactic Federation of Worlds towards us towards the people who don't want to wake up. We need to be like this, respect their choices. Having done everything we could to give them, to present them the choice, but at the end of the day, they choose. They have the sovereignty. They have the power of decision, even if we give them the choice and we say, yes, but that would be better for you.
Yeah.
Please, that's horrible. That's better. And at the end of the day, they choose, because that's them. You can't do more. You can't force them to take a decision, and that's, now you understand upstairs how frustrated they can be.
Okay. Because there's a lot of frustration here as well.
Yes, now you get it. Now you get it. These people, sometimes it's our own family. We need to respect them and love them. These ones will not change, so we must not wait that these ones change, because it will never happen. It's just those who now at that stage have started to awaken and take responsibility for themselves without following the fear narratives. These ones are going to be the ones who are going to set up the new world and, this beautiful future. So it's these people who are changing. It's up to them. That's them who are going to make it happen, to learn how to get on with each other, to stop consenting to obey to the deep state or things like this.
And what do you say to people that are awake, are trying to awaken humanity or do their part, who maybe feel that they're not doing enough, or maybe they're concerned that they may look back on this period and wish they'd done more? What would you say to those people?
Okay. I would say that you cannot save everyone. You send signals and you plant seeds, and whoever is ready takes it, hears it. When you plant seeds in a ground that is not fertile, it's not going to make it. So it's not your fault if some grounds haven't been fertile to receive the seeds, because that's what they are, who they are. So you've done your best, you've done your mission. If you do your best, you do your best to the maximum of your capabilities, you've done enough.
Yeah. And working on yourself is so important as well.
Yes, and show the example. I give you an example, a personal example. One day I was walking in the street here during the lockdown, and everybody had this. And yes, in the street. I don't know how the extent of what I can say on your podcast.
Okay.
And they were, to me, they were like zombies. And I was so distressed to see them, you know, because I love people, and I was upset to see people like this, blind in the matrix. And I forced a communication with Thoran while I was walking in the street, and I said, look where I am, and I show you by my own eyes. And I'm spending day and night to work to try to wake people up, but still, it's beyond me. Look at it's this whole world. It's what can I'm just cracking up. What can I do more? I'm just going to kill myself trying to do more.
I know.
And he said, do not try to convince them. Be yourself and show them. What he said, be yourself and show them.
Very wise.
I got it. I myself, I say what I think, I say what I humbly know, and I show by my behavior whoever it resonates with, you know, be inspired to do the same. But I just be myself, and I don't try to change the world, just change myself, and I radiate it as much as I can, be myself strongly. That's what I have to do.
Yeah. It sounds like, though, that you've had similar thoughts in terms of you can never do enough, can you, in some respects?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the ego getting in the way, or if it's...
No, it's despair, it's frustration, because I think love was involved, because if I didn't love people, I wouldn't care. It's, you know, it's in your... I'm lucky my family is like me, but I know some families, their husbands or wives have taken harmful choices, and my friends were like this desperate. I have a friend, her husband died, and she done everything she could to not to convince her husband not to do certain things, but at the end of the day he did it. And because she loved him, you know, because you love people, you're going to fight for them. If you don't love them, it's just for you, you don't care, you just, you know, that's love. Love is the fuel. Love.
It is a fuel. I've experienced that myself, definitely, in terms of when it ignites.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's quite difficult.
Yeah.
So I think if we can maybe talk a bit about how people can reach you who haven't already, and find out a bit more about you and your channel and your books.
Okay, thank you. My channel, Elena Danaan, on YouTube. You have, everything is free. You have, I advise you to go in the playlist guidance. It's on my homepage of my channel, guidance through these times. And in that playlist, you have about 100 free meditations. So try them. You have my website, elenadanaan.org, O-R-G, and everything about me, where to buy my books, workshops, articles, merchandise, anything that can make t-shirts and artwork to pay my bills, you know, things like that. But it's just check it out, and everything to contact me is in there.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time. It's been fascinating. We've covered a lot of topics there, and I would love to speak to you again sometime.
With pleasure. You had great questions. I really enjoyed this chat. Thank you.
I've really enjoyed it too.